Your contract is the reason why you're still working on a project that you delivered 6 weeks ago. And it's also the reason why you got ghosted on the invoice right after. It all comes down to 5 clauses that 99% of AI consultants are missing from every agreement that they send out. And one of these 5, which I'd argue is the single biggest reason that new consultants don't level up to bigger clients, almost nobody includes. I'll tell you which one later and exactly how to use it. Now look, I'm not a lawyer, and this is not legal advice, but I've signed a lot of contracts over the last year or so, and I've watched a lot of new consultants get burned because their agreement was basically a glorified email that didn't actually protect them against any of the things that usually go wrong on AI projects. I help builders and freelancers turn what they already know how to do into a real consulting business. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 clauses that you need to include in every single contract that you send so that you stop doing free work, stop getting ghosted, and stop ending projects feeling resentful instead of proud. And if you want to land your first or next AI client, you can take part in the 4-week challenge inside my free school community of like-minded people, where you'll find a free course that's honestly better than most paid courses out there, and you'll get direct one-on-one access to me for whatever questions you might have. The link is down below. All right, let's dive in. So before we get into the clauses, I want you to reframe how you think about your contract, because most new consultants treat it like a formality, just some annoying paperwork that they have to send before the real work starts. They ask ChatGPT for a template, copy and paste the client's name, and then call it good. That is the wrong frame. Your contract is not just a legal document. Your contract is a filter. Clients who treat it seriously respect you. They read it, ask reasonable questions, and then they sign. Clients who push back on every single clause, who try to negotiate every protection out of the agreement, who send it back with changes that all happen to favor them, they're showing you exactly who they're going to be for the next 30 days, before you've even done a single hour of work. Your contract weeds those people out. It saves you from the worst clients before they ever become your problem. So when I walk through these 5 clauses, don't think of them as ways to be harder to work with. Think of them as ways to attract the kind of client that actually wants a professional relationship and repel the kind that's just going to drain you dry. Let's start with the first one. This is where most projects go downhill. Number 1, you have to cap your revisions in writing. Picture this. You deliver the AI agent. The client loves it. They say, "This is amazing. Just one small thing." Innocent enough, right? Then one small thing becomes 5 small things. Then a full reprompt. Then they want to change the tone, then the workflow, then the integration. Then they want to add a new use case that was never even mentioned in the original scope. And 6 weeks later, you're still working on a project that technically you delivered a month ago for free. And meanwhile, your bank account isn't growing, your other prospects are going cold because you don't have any time, and you're sitting there at your laptop at 10 p.m. tweaking the prompt for the 8th time because you don't know how to push back without losing the testimonial. That's scope creep in slow motion, and it kills more consultants than bad builds ever do. And the fix is simple. Put it in the contract. 3 rounds of revision included. Anything beyond that gets billed at your hourly rate. But here's the part that most people miss. You have to define what a revision round actually is. Because if you don't, can you just tweak the prompt real quick every day for 2 weeks? Is not one revision. That's like 10, maybe 12, and you're not getting paid for any of them. So get specific. A revision round is one consolidated batch of feedback submitted in writing within a defined window. Let's say 5 business days from delivery. Anything outside that window, or anything submitted as one-off requests instead of as a batch, counts as additional work and gets billed separately. Honestly, I wish somebody would have told me this on my very first project. I learned it the expensive way. The version of me a year ago, making 50 grand a year doing marketing for an insulation company, just trying to get my first paying client to like me, would have said yes to every small thing forever, just to keep the client happy. You don't have to. 3 rounds, in writing. Anything beyond that is billable. Once revisions are handled, the next place that things slip is in your scope. Number 2, your scope section needs an exclusion list. Most people focus on defining what they're going to build: the chatbot, the automation, the voice agent, the lead system, whatever it is. But almost nobody spells out what they're not going to build. Build an AI chatbot is not a scope. Build an AI chatbot is how you end up in an argument 3 weeks from now. Real scope has 4 parts: what the system does, what model or tools it runs on, what success looks like as a measurable number, and this is the part that everyone skips, what it does not include. Let me give you a real example. Say you're building an AI voice agent for a dental clinic. Your contract says you'll build the agent, integrate it with their scheduling software, and configure it for appointment booking. Done. Clear. You feel good about it. Now flip it. The exclusion list explicitly says this project does not include CRM migration, staff training, or ongoing prompt updates after delivery. Now picture what happens 3 weeks later. The office manager emails you and says, "Hey, can you connect the agent to our email system too? And can you retrain it on these new scripts that we just wrote?" Without that exclusion list, you're stuck. You either do it for free and feel resentful, or you push back and look like the bad guy because there's nothing in writing. With the exclusion list, you just point to the contract. "Hey, totally happy to scope that as a phase 2 project. That's outside what we agreed to, but I can put together a proposal for it this week. Easy, friendly, professional, and paid." That exclusion list protects the relationship just as much as it protects you, because nothing destroys a client relationship faster than feeling like the line keeps moving. But even with a tight scope, there's still something you don't control. And this is the clause that almost nobody has, and that I see new consultants get absolutely destroyed by. Number 3, third-party dependency clause. Here's why this matters. This clause doesn't exist in traditional agency contracts. So if you grabbed your contract template from a freelance designer or marketing agency, this is missing, and you're gonna have to add it yourself. Your automations run on other people's platforms. OpenAI, Anthropic, Make, Airtable, N8N, Bappy, whatever your stack is. And any of those platforms can change pricing, change terms, or change model behavior overnight, without warning, without your input, and without caring about the project that you delivered to a client 3 months ago. Let me paint the picture. You build a beautiful AI voice agent for a real estate client. It's running great. 6 months later, the model gets updated. Anthropic releases a new version of Claude. OpenAI ships GPT 5.6. The prompt that you carefully tuned now produces slightly different outputs, or the voice sounds different, or the agent answers questions slightly different than it used to. Your client doesn't know any of that. All they know is that their AI agent suddenly sounds different. So they call you, frustrated, asking why your system isn't working the way that it used to. If your contract doesn't address that, it now becomes your problem. You're now doing free maintenance work 6 months after delivery on a project that's been long since closed out. This clause doesn't need to be complicated. Something like, the consultant is not responsible for any changes in functionality, pricing, or availability caused by third-party platforms. Any updates, modifications, or rework required as a result of such changes will be scoped and billed separately. That's it. One paragraph. And it completely changes the conversation when something inevitably shifts on the underlying platforms. You can also use this clause to set up a really clean upsell. When something changes, and something will always change, you can reach out to the client and say, "Hey, OpenAI updated their model last week. I'd recommend that we do a tune-up of the prompts to make sure that everything's still performing at the level that we agreed to. I can do it for X dollars." Now you've turned a potential problem into recurring revenue. Once that's covered, there's one more piece that can cause a ton of friction if you leave it vague. Number 4, you have to define what done looks like with an actual number. This is one of the biggest differences between AI consulting and traditional web or agency work. With a website, done is fairly obvious. The site loads, the buttons work, the form submits. It either works or it doesn't. There's not a lot of gray area. AI isn't like that. Your AI agent is going to get things wrong sometimes. That's not a flaw. That's just how the technology works. The question is, does the client know that going in? Or are they just expecting 100% perfection on day one? Because if you don't define what success looks like upfront, the client will define it later. And the version that they define after delivery is always going to be way more demanding than the version you would have negotiated up front. They'll point to one weird response that the agent gave on Tuesday and use it as proof that the whole system isn't working. So don't promise perfection. You can't deliver perfection. Don't even imply it. Define performance instead. Something like, the system will achieve 85% accuracy on initial responses, with escalation paths for edge cases that require human involvement. Or, the voice agent will successfully book an appointment in at least 75% of qualified inbound calls, with the remaining calls routed to a human team member. Now you have a delivery standard. It's measurable, it's realistic, it's defensible, and this is huge, it sets a healthy expectation with the client about what AI actually is. It's not magic. It's a tool that performs well within defined parameters. When you frame it that way up front, the client respects you more, not less, because you sound like an expert who actually understands the technology instead of a salesperson who's over-promising and then just praying that it works out. And once you're consistently delivering at that level, there's one last clause to lock in. And this is the one that I mentioned at the start of the video. A clause that almost nobody includes. And the one I'd argue makes the biggest difference in your ability to land bigger clients down the road. Number 5, the case study permission clause. This is one sentence that you add to every single agreement, starting with your very next one. Client grants the consultant the right to reference this project and its anonymized outcomes in marketing materials, social content, and case studies unless otherwise requested in writing. That's it. That's the whole clause. Now here's why this is so important. Most AI builders are stuck because they don't have proof. They can build, they can talk about what they can build, but when a real prospect asks, do you have any examples of the work you've done? They freeze because they didn't get permission to show anything that they've already built. So they end up doing this thing where they're vaguely describing past projects that they've done without specifics. Yeah, I built a system with a real estate client that helped them with their leads. That doesn't sell. That keeps you stuck at $1,500 projects for years. Watching other consultants that you know are less skilled than you charge 5 times more just because they have one good case study and you don't. This clause fixes that on day 1. Every project that you deliver from this point forward becomes a real, usable example. You can post about it. You can put it on your site. You can mention it on sales calls. You don't have to chase the client down 6 months from now begging for their permission, hoping they're still happy with you, hoping they remember you. And the best part, you don't even need names or logos. You just need the outcome. Helped a regional dental clinic reduce no-shows by 33% using an AI voice agent. Built an AI lead qualification system for a real estate team that doubled their booked appointment rate in 60 days. Deployed a customer service automation for an e-commerce client that handled 40% of inbound tickets without human intervention. That's all you need to start landing bigger, better paying clients. I'm telling you, the consultants that I see exploding in this business are the ones that treat every project like an investment. The build pays them once. The case study pays them for the next 2 years. That's the entire shift between people who are stuck doing one-off freelance work and people who build a real consulting business that compounds. And you can start building that proof on your very next project. Just add the clause. Now I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, Lindsay, this all sounds great, but I haven't even landed my first client yet. I don't even have a contract to update. I hear you, and honestly, start now. Have your contract ready before you have a client, because the version of you that's about to land their first deal is going to be excited and nervous and ready to sign whatever the client says. The version of you watching this video right now, calm, thinking clearly, not under pressure, is the version of you that needs to write the contract, so that future you on that call doesn't accidentally agree to terms that will hurt you. Build the contract today. Have it sitting in a Google Doc ready to go, so that when that first deal comes through, you can send it without thinking, like a pro. Okay, quick recap. 1, cap your revision cycles in writing. 3 rounds included. Anything outside of that is billed separately. 2, add an exclusion list to your scope. Spell out what you're not building. 3, the third-party dependency clause. Protect yourself from platform changes that you don't control. 4, define what done looks like with a measurable number, not perfection, performance. And 5, the case study permission clause. 1 sentence, every agreement, starting now. And if you want to land your first or next AI client, you can take part in the 4-week challenge inside of my free school community of like-minded people, where you'll find a free course that's honestly better than most paid courses out there, and you'll get direct one-on-one access to me for whatever questions you might have. The link is down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.